I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. A young man recently told me, most of my friends assume that business owners spend their money and their time on cocaine and hookers. Now, this jaw-dropping quote came from this young man that I was talking with about money and investing and running a business. I was shocked. This was a money script that I had never heard. I asked, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yeah." I asked if any of the friends with this belief were raised by a parent who owned a business. He thought for a moment. He says, "Nope, can't think of one." This conversation reminded me of a government employee who once told me, any person who succeeds in business had to do so illegally by embracing corruption and dishonesty. He too was serious. I was just dumbfounded by both of these encounters. My experience of being raised by parents who owned a small business and then going into business for myself was quite different from these perceptions. My father started his own business when I was about 4 years old. I witnessed him working long hours. I remember the times when business was so bad, he would have to borrow money to pay the bills, pay his payroll, and keep his doors open. Later in life, I learned his business rarely made a profit and was just able to pay his salary. He never shared this with his employees. He never shared how tight the money was. And when I went to work for him as a teenager, I remember listening to the talk around the water cooler. They all assumed he made far more money than what I knew was true. In the years since, I've discovered many misperceptions about people who own real estate, are in business, or who have accumulated wealth. The first misperception is that someone who owns real estate or a business has actually accumulated wealth. My 40 years of experience in financial planning has taught me that many, if not most, business owners would make more money if they went to work for somebody else. And real estate owners accumulate wealth slowly. Most of them, myself included, struggle through some pretty lean years with short or even negative cash flow until they finally pay off their mortgages, and many of those mortgages are 30-year mortgages. Certainly real estate or business owners who preserve over the long term certainly can become wealthy. Being wealthy, according to various studies that I read, is defined as having a minimum net worth of somewhere between $5 and $20 million. About 80% of millionaires own their own businesses. They put in long hours, often in careers that they love, so that their work becomes play. The average business owner puts in about 70 hours a week. They are 5 times more likely than non-business owners to be always available via email, 4 times more likely to work nights, and 3 times more likely to be in the office or the store on weekends. This is the way one successful business owner described it to me. He said, "Our company will celebrate its 50th anniversary next year. Probably the first 30 years were spent at working 70 to 100-hour weeks at below minimum wage and dumping every extra penny back into the business. I would say it's only been the last 10 years that we have begun to reap the financial rewards that we spent 40 years striving to attain, still working 60 to 70-hour weeks. I acknowledge our work habits may be in part because we are stubborn Norwegians that don't think anyone else can do things right. But most successful small business owners I know have pretty much dedicated their life to become successful." End of his quote. This focus and work ethic are what it takes to succeed at business ownership. It's not a mindset that includes blowing money and time on cocaine and hookers. Thanks for joining me.